What's up, guys? This is Mike Hrynyshyn from Blue Chip Scouting, joined in his car by Tyler Forness of NBC Sports Edge. Tyler, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. I now have a marriage license again,
Yes,
so
sir.
I can prove that I've been married for a year and a half. But otherwise, I'm doing okay. I'm just going back to work, but I'm excited to be doing this mock with you because the Chiefs are a fascinating team to draft for because while they have a lot of needs, most of them are masked by star players.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say the Chiefs are pretty good,
Just a little bit.
just a bit. So we're we're recording this. We've got the PFN mock draft simulator open. It is all 7 rounds. It's set to fast because Forno is on his way to work. We wanted to make sure we got 2 people on this video. So Forno, you ready to go?
I am 100% ready, as
All
you
right.
can hear my blinker in the background.
So we are on the board at number 30. We just got an offer from the Packers want to offer us pick 59, 92, and then 2 picks next year for pick 30 and 103. They picked Sam Howell at 28.
Yeah, I'm good. I think we should hold pat here. The Chiefs have the kind of a narrowish window to really maximize their assets because they do have Patrick Mahomes on that really wonky deal where they can push money if they want.
Mm-hmm. I think your sound cut out just
It's
a
a
bit.
very interesting conundrum.
So I'm going to go ahead and reject this deal now. I'm rejecting all deals. Okay, Forno, Jermaine Johnson is still available at 30.
Mike, I can't hear you.
Son of a bitch. Not at all. Oh,
I'm gonna jump back in, okay?
okay.
There we go.
There you go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. My wife called and it screwed up the audio.
Oh, Bluetooth?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that happens.
All
Okay,
right,
so
who's on
what?
the board?
Top players available: Jermaine Johnson, Kenyon Green, Traylon Burks, Lewis Seen.
Oh, that's a tough one because they could honestly use 3 of those 4 players, fill immediate needs with a high-end talent. I think when you talk about the Chiefs, you want to maximize offense. Offense, most importantly. I think Jermaine Johnson's probably the best player on the board, but for what the Chiefs love to do, I think you need to go with Burks. He's a guy that can really win over the middle, yards after catch, and when they really can play a successful shell coverage, Burks is the kind of guy that can really disrupt it and force them to kind of change their coverages, and then that will allow Hill and Kelsey to really be able to dominate and attack the zone openings. But if you want to go Jermaine Johnson, I get that too. Like his get off, 1.55 seconds is just absolutely elite. He can win with his hands. He can win with power. He can win around the edge. He can do everything. It wouldn't shock me if he goes top 5. It also wouldn't surprise me if, because of the depth of this edge class and how teams might prefer players differently, if he falls.
I'm going to go with Jermaine Johnson because if I remember correctly, and you would know this a lot better than I would, isn't Frank Clark a free agent?
They just restructured his deal to a 2-year contract, so it's not as pressing of a need as it might have been because Clark is returning to the Chiefs on a relatively team-friendly hit.
They do need a wide receiver too, though. So I'm in agreement with you. I'm going to go with Traylon Burks. Can we just laugh at the fact that despite desperately needing a wide receiver, the Packers passed up on Traylon Burks to draft Sam Howell? And I've lost Forno again. Son of a bitch. Hello again, sir.
My wife called again. I'm hoping she doesn't call a third time because that's just going to be annoying. All right, what are we at for the second round?
All right. We are at pick 62. Go away, Indy. I'm not interested in trading. Sam Williams would definitely fit with their off-field issues need that they always seem to want to fill. Arnold Ebiketie, Carson Strong, George Pickens, Jalen Wydermyer, Myjai Sanders, and John Mechie are the best available.
So this is where Traylon Burks would have really come in handy at 30, because look at what's on the board. It's a bevy of pass rushers that I think are better personally than what George Pickens is at receiver in comparison. But I think Pickens is the pick here. He's a guy who can be a little bit of a field stretcher. He's not going to be
I picked Burks at 30.
You what?
I picked Burks at 30.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay.
You cut out again.
Well, you said you were picking Jermaine Johnson.
No. I said Traylon Burks because they needed a wide receiver too.
All right. Well, then we're going pass rusher here. Ebiketie's probably the best option, all things considered, because Sam Williams has those off-field concerns, and Ebiketie is just an athletic maven. He really showed that at the combine and at his pro day. I think that should be the pick here. You could argue Sam Williams if you're comfortable with the off-field. I don't know enough about it in order to really quantify it and make a decision, so I'm avoiding it and going Ebiketie.
I think Ebiketie's a better player and has no off-field, so I'm going to go with Ebiketie on that one.
Boom, there we go.
What I was saying to you before you cut out the last time was, could we just laugh at the fact that the Packers desperately needed a number 2 wide receiver and instead chose Sam Howell in the first round?
Makes my heart whole.
So at pick 94, we still have really good players available here. We've got Kingsley Enagbari, Greg Dulcich, Quay Walker, Alec Lindstrom. That's a little too rich for my blood. Tyler Algier, Jerome Ford, Caleb Ellaby, and Calvin Austin as the top 100 players available according to PFN.
I don't care what we did earlier in the draft. It's Calvin Austin.
I agree.
No chance in hell he should be here. Calvin Austin, in my opinion, is a top 40 player. He should be a top 40 pick, potentially a first rounder. What he showed at the Senior Bowl, because at Memphis, he was all manufactured touches, jet sweeps, crossers, screens, and then he ran a little bit of the deep stuff. But what he showed was a real acumen to be a true receiver with his release package, the ability to utilize his frame in routes and catching the football. He has a very large catch radius for somebody of his stature. I don't care. You'll find a way to use him in that creative system.
Now, we are back at 103, and not a whole lot has changed, except I would argue that at 103, Damone Clark from LSU makes a lot of sense here. To pair
incredibly smart football player, and he's got athleticism. When you compare those two things, especially in a Steve Spagnuolo defense that's going to be incredibly aggressive, I think that is a fantastic route to take.
Because everything else that's here, Matt Waletzko, Cade Otton, Jalen Armour-Davis, I'm not really familiar. Quay Walker, I'm not really familiar with those guys. I did just wrap up Clark's scouting report.
Armour-Davis is an interesting option here. He's got a very, very nice athletic profile, and he had really nice flashes of being a potential cornerback 1 in the NFL. Problem is, some inconsistency, had some lingering injury issues, but at this point in the draft, that's a very interesting option.
I would argue Damone Clark, because I think if you paired him with Bolton, you have a very, very good linebacker tandem for years to come.
I'm not against that.
All right. We're going to go with Damone Clark, and I don't know when. I think we're up again we're at 135 now. And the best players we have a Dante Collinelli brand guy available. Actually, we have
Henningsen?
two. No. We've actually got 2 of them because we have Nick Cross from Maryland and we've got Cole Strange from Chattanooga.
You know, as much as I love the idea of them taking a guard here, well, hold on. Kyle Long is a question mark long term.
Mm-hmm. You're cutting out
Solid
really
interior.
bad.
Oh, am I? Oh, boy.
Yeah, now you're good.
Fun.
Now you're good.
Okay, so I think Cole Strange. Kyle Long's a question mark. You have a very cheap interior, which the guards don't matter philosophy. Second round picks and later with talent, inexpensive contracts. Boom. Like a fourth
This
and
is
a
easy.
sixth, and you're gonna get a high quality play. This is a big win for the Chiefs. Big win.
And you pair him with Creed Humphrey, who was the best offensive lineman from this past year.
He was also the 12th best player in the draft class last year, pre-draft.
Yeah, he was around that for me as well. Now we have a long way. We're back on the clock now at pick 233.
All right.
Now, best players available. It is a absolute crapshoot right now. We've got James Mitchell, the tight end from Virginia Tech, and also father of Abyss. Julius Turner, Jack Cohn, a USC linebacker whose name I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce. Logan Bruss, the offensive tackle from Wisconsin, and Zach Van Valkenburg out of Iowa.
All right, so when I look at this, I think you take James Mitchell. If he plays a full season with Virginia Tech, even though that they had a myriad of issues on offense, a lot of that had to do with injuries. James Mitchell tore his ACL in week 2, really crushed my shot at a fantasy football title because I placed a lot of emphasis on Mitchell in an ACC and MAC draft.
Ooh.
Yeah, what was it? Kobe Lewis, the running back from Central Michigan, was my 3rd-round pick. Torn ACL out for the year preseason. James Mitchell, 4th-round pick, torn ACL out for the year. So really, really crushed any of my hopes. But I'll say this: when he's on, very, very talented player, can really be a seam stretcher, more of an inline type guy, but you can ask him to do a little bit of everything if you need. I think he could be a nice understudy to Kelsey without having to actually play major minutes early on.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on this one. I mean, you're looking at someone that's gonna be a backup for Kelsey for a couple of years, and at very least, just get 15 to 20 catches a year. I think James Mitchell can get you that easy.
And I think he'd be a potential 2nd, 3rd, 4th-round player if he would have had a full season of play and was not coming off of a torn ACL.
Exactly. Pick 243. Top players are Jack Cohn, that USC linebacker, Ty Chandler, Jermaine Waller, Jeremiah Gamel, and Thomas Booker.
Thomas Booker's an interesting one because he's really kind of a tweener. Best is like a 5 technique to 3 technique, can play inside and out. But when I look at this, Jack Cohn is intriguing because he can be a long-term backup without having.
That's the first time anyone's ever said that about Jack Cohn.
Look, I'll be honest. I really was super low on Jack Cohn. You can read all my articles about Notre Dame for NBC Sports Edge from this past year. But Lance Erline really said something that invoked some interest in me. And quite frankly, when I thought about it, he's right. He really excels at nailing those intermediate level throws. And that to me, with his intelligence, screams long-term style backup, which I know Kansas City could utilize long-term. So that, and at a 7th-round evaluation, you're not really utilizing any capital. The other interesting element would be Ty Chandler. Chandler had a fantastic year this season for North Carolina, kind of buried on the depth chart at Tennessee for his first couple years, but really blossomed, ran fast at the combine, runs with power. He's a bigger style back, so you're not going to worry about him getting beat up a lot. Like, those would be my 2 choices here, and I'd probably go Chandler because you really want to focus on that offense, and it feels like Chad Henne will play forever as long as it's for Andy Reid.
I'm going to agree with you on that one. Chad Henne will be a backup quarterback till he's 56.
Yep.
We're still not done. We have more picks. We at 251, Thomas Booker is still available, and I think that this makes a lot of sense.
Thomas Booker, yeah. You get a guy who can be versatile. He's not going to be the most athletic or explosive, but he's powerful, physical, and he's a guy that can make an impact in the running game right away while he continues to learn the nuances of the pass rush.
I almost just, for the last pick at 259, want to do this one just because we have my favorite Midwesterner on the screen. We do have, and he's the 259th ranked player according to Pro Football Focus. He's an offensive guard, so it's on brand from you. From the University of Minnesota, it's Blaze Andrews.
Andrews is a good football player.
I haven't gotten to him, so
he can play all across the line. The nice part about that Minnesota line, you had multiple guys who could play 4 or 5 positions, and Andrews is one of those guys that they utilized like an offensive line rotation, which is kind of weird. But they had 6 starters this past year. They had 6 players that had 30 or more starts under their belt. You're not going to see that in a lot of programs.
No.
You're probably never going to see it again after this COVID stuff. So, looking at all that, that's a really interesting option. But I think Thomas Booker's got to be the pick here because you
I
really
already
need to
picked
keep.
Booker at 251. We're good.
Okay.
Sorry, I said for 259. They have way too many 7th-round picks.
259. All right, who else is on the board with injuries?
Jeremiah Gamel, EJ Perry, the Brown quarterback, DeMarco Jackson from App State, Quay Holmes from, I think that's East Tennessee State, Nasir Greer from Wake Forest, Tanner Connor from Idaho State, Ironhead Hayward's kid, also Cameron Hayward's brother, Chris Steele and Noah Ellis ahead of Andrews on the board.
All right, so there, a couple things really stand out to me, Mike. Tanner Connor is tall, he's big, and he's really, really, really fast. If we didn't already take multiple receivers in this draft, I think he'd be the slam dunk pick for me. But there are a couple other options here that are very fascinating. I think EJ Perry and DeMarco Jackson look like really good choices. I'd probably go EJ Perry because that's a really nice developmental piece that can sit behind Mahomes, work with Andy Reid, be a long-term backup, and potentially, if he ends up getting some real playing time with his offense, be a guy you can flip for better capital down the line.
I'm all for that. It's a Brown quarterback. And you know what? We don't see a lot of quarterbacks from Brown University nowadays. And he's intriguing. I haven't gotten to him. I'm hoping for something to get me excited about this quarterback class. The unknown of it all intrigues me. I'm going to go with EJ Perry as our last pick.
Well, the fact that you don't like Malik Willis, Mike, just hurts my soul.
I don't like any of these quarterbacks.
Well, yeah.
So our full finalized draft class for the Chiefs is Treylon Burks, Arnold Ebiketie, Calvin Austin III, Damon Clark, Cole Strange, James Mitchell, Ty Chandler, Thomas Booker, EJ Perry. Our friend Russell Jakubowski would call that a dub. I think come the draft, none of this is really all that realistic given where we are now, but I'm just saying.
Mike, I'm a big fan of this draft. You hit a lot of needs. You got players that can be plug and play, and you have high upside talent. I really don't see any downfall with this. I think we hit a home run with this draft for the Chiefs.
Yeah. Well, Forno, thank you for joining me for this very quick mock draft. Where can the people find you on Twitter?
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at @TheRealForno. I'll still be around to help Blue Chip Scouting out with some video stuff here moving forward. Most of my written work is going to be NBCSportsEdge.com and the VikingsWire.com as well, where I just released a 7-round Vikings mock draft focusing on building around Kirk Cousins, and I ended up giving them Chris Olave, which he might end up being my wide receiver one. I'm just obsessed with his game, and the Justin Jefferson lesson taught me a lot in the 22 class. You can't overlook a guy like Olave.
Thank you for bringing up the Justin Jefferson wounds. I really appreciate it.
You know what? That was by no means an insult towards you. I see them as incredibly similar players. They're master technicians. They also have explosiveness and are good in the open field. But you have to learn something from previous draft classes, and I hope Howie Roseman learned his.
I'd like to think that too, but I've also realized that with Howie Roseman as general manager, I'm probably in for at least one profanity-laced rant during our live draft coverage here on YouTube. Until next time, guys, take it